Welcome to Wisdom on the Front Porch, wherever you gain knowledge and wisdom, that is your front porch. And today we have Angie with us, and Angie's going to help those couples that are stressing over money. But Angie, tell us when you started this business.
Yes, I started my business, Carlson Financial Coaching, in January 2021.
Okay. And what made you decide to do this compared to anything else you could have done?
I've had experience in the financial sector my entire career, and what got me into this line of work specifically was a near-death experience 5 years ago. I was laying in bed, thinking about my husband. My two kids were in fourth and kindergarten. It was really okay if God decided it was my time to go because I was that sick. And the whole time I was laying there, I couldn't eat, couldn't drink, and I had all these regrets going through my head. The biggest one of them was, Angie, you could have helped so many people by being a coach, and you were too chicken to go for it.
Oh, wow, that's actually pretty powerful.
Hmm.
So you were sick, you got better, obviously. Was it something that you could do the coaching right away, or did that come later? Or what were the next steps that you
Yeah.
did?
Well, I'll share what happened with my medical story because I've been pretty open about it. So I have severe scoliosis, and that shows the
Mm.
same symptoms as a failing gallbladder. And so
Oh,
the doctors kept treating my scoliosis. So they were sending me to physical therapy, having me do stretches, which, by the way, do nothing for a gallbladder that's dying in your body.
absolutely. I understand that one.
And so as I became a coach, it made me really passionate about, am I helping couples solve the right problem? So with my near death experience being in September 2019, I didn't even take the training for another year because I was like, I don't even know where to go for training. How do I become a coach? Like it just took me that long to figure those things out on my own. And then while working my full-time job, I stepped into coaching very part-time January 2021.
Wow, wow. So how did you find coaching for what you were doing, what you wanted to do?
Yeah, so I found coaching. I actually went through the Ramsey Solutions website, got my certification there, and I'm currently a
Mm.
Ramsey preferred coach. So that's where I got my training. And then I've also worked with other coaches outside of the Ramsey preferred coaching program in terms of how do I build my business? How do I find leads? How do I talk about coaching to really grow my business into something that is unique and special to me and my style of coaching?
Yeah, and that's real important. A lot of entrepreneurs, especially starting out, those are things they're always looking for. So maybe what are some tips that you can give people to do that?
Yeah, so the first thing is if you feel this nudge on your heart that you need to go for being a coach, first off, listen to it. That nudge is not going to go away because you ignore it or bury it. It's always going to be there. And at the end of your life, you are going to regret not doing it and you're not going to have any time to fix it. Second, realize that there is a lot that you don't know. I naively assumed I would be the exception to every rule out there, and boy, was I wrong. And I've had to eat a lot of humble pie since then. There is a lot that I did not know, and a lot that I could either take the time to try to figure out on my own, but how many mistakes would I make? And how much money was I losing by trying to figure it out where I can just hire somebody who knows what they're doing and just do it. And so I really have taken steps to speed up my results because I just learned, it took me a year to figure out my certification. Well, I could have been making money that year and helping people, and I didn't because I was trying to figure it out.
Yeah,
And there's a cost of how many people didn't have their life impacted because I decided to be selfish and figure it out. And that's been a very powerful question I've asked over time too.
yeah. And and my comment on that is, one, you don't know what you don't know until you know it. But two, you can't beat yourself up over it because yeah, you could have, but you really need to have the training too. You needed to be
Mhm.
prepared, know what you were doing. But I understand what you're saying. You had the knowledge out there. You could have been helping people, but now you help them in such an impactful way, probably more impactful than you would have before. Um, so we have to give ourselves grace, for what we could have, should have done and go from there.
Absolutely. And that's now why my decisions are so much faster and I'm so much more clear on who I help and why I help them, because, most financial coaches will just say, I'm a financial coach. And I'm sitting here going, I know I want to help couples relieve that money tension in their relationship because I know how impactful that was for me.
Yeah, yeah, and that's true. I mean, you know, I think money struggles is one of the top reasons people get divorced because they're just fighting over it all the time, and you don't need to. And she can show you how not to.
Right. Well, and it makes sense that people do that because when you come together and you meet your person, odds are very high you have not known this person since childhood. And even if you have, you never saw what went on behind closed doors. And
Right.
there's stories and histories that none of us want to tell anybody about. We all have those decisions we're not proud of, that situation we were put in that allowed us to be really uncomfortable when we didn't ask for it. And naturally,
Right.
we don't want to share those parts of ourselves with anybody, including our spouse. And we have a filter going through our head saying, I'm never going to repeat that financial decision. And so your brain is going, I'm not repeating that. And here your poor partner has no idea what you're trying to avoid because naturally you don't want to tell
Right.
them. And so they feel like maybe what you see as wise might be seen to them as controlling. And they don't know how to be your partner to help prevent this scenario because they don't know what it is. And so obviously that will bring tension into your relationship and also differing speeds of intensity. Like some people, they'll read a financial plan and say, we've got to drop everything and do it. And their spouse is like blindsided because this is the first time they're hearing about it. And they want to live life a little bit, which I mean, now that I've had my near death experience, I totally understand that point of view much more than I used to. And so there's got to be a balancing act here too. And it's hard to have a balancing act when you feel really uncomfortable not getting
Right.
100% of what you want.
Yeah. And that's very true. So how did you happen to come into zeroing in on couples? I mean, a lot of people have the problem of, everybody said narrow down your niche, get real specific and stuff. And by just helping couples, you've really done that. So what was the process it took you to get to that point?
It took me testing a few niches to learn I really didn't like them, to be totally honest. It was
Well,
kind of a
you
trial
got to
and
try
error.
that.
Yeah, I had a couple niches and like one or two clients in, I was like, this is not what I want to do.
Mm.
And then I promptly met coaches who love those niches. So I could refer all those people out because
Oh, nice.
I would not be a great person for them. And the ones who are in that niche just have so much more knowledge and expertise than I do. Great. Now I can cut my timeline to get to what I want because I don't have to spend my time learning what I don't like. And for me and my
Right.
husband, we were raised with very different financial backgrounds.
Mhm.
And that did cause us tension as we were looking at our financial goals. And part of it was because we didn't know how to say the things that affected us. We just would have this feeling, or we just snap at each other when we said something. And it'd be like, what prompted that? And,
Yeah.
my spouse or I'd be like, well, I don't know. That's just what came to mind, which is incredibly frustrating when you're sitting here going, I don't know what problem I'm solving. And as we've worked together and now we've been able to put words to what we're feeling. And obviously now me as a coach, I can do a much better job of drawing things out of my husband than I could have, 10 years ago when we were going through all this. It's
Yeah.
really helped us to be like, oh, that's really what you've been meaning all these years. That's what that looks like to you. And it's been more than just the financial side. It's been on, the relationship side, the kids side, the future side. Like it's just changed our relationship talking about our money. And I know if it's done that for me and it's done that for my clients, I know it can do it for you too.
Yeah. That's really awesome. I'm going through a book, I think it's called Secrets of a Millionaire Mindset. But it's not
Mhm.
just talking about money, it's how we think about everything, how we think about people, how we think about circumstances, and where it comes from. Why do you think the way you do? Why is that happening? And of course, everybody has their own experiences of what they've gone through, of what they've been told, what they've heard, what they've believed that they've heard, and understanding that you've got these two very different mindsets. You might have one family, I remember hearing a gentleman talking about how his wife, her thought with money is when it comes in, you need to spend it because that's what it's for. And that's what
Mhm.
she was raised with. His mindset is when the money comes in, you put it where it needs to go first, and spending is after. And so, of course, you're going to have tension with something like that.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, it's great when you can get people to recognize how they think about money, their personal relationship with it, and then how they can blend it together between the two of them and make it work. Um,
Yeah, and
yeah,
those
and
decisions, yeah,
go
for
ahead.
sure. Those decisions that they make really drive that because so many people in the financial space are like, well, just do a budget, just cut expenses. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not that I'm against that. And that gets you to a point. Like I just had a client I worked with that she was considering going back to school, which shocked me because we worked on the plan and the goals, and she never brought this up the whole time together. And I'm okay, what
Where'd that come
prompted
from?
that? Just more like what prompted that conversation? And it turns out she'd started a business, which I knew about, and she was like, she's like, I just kind of think a PhD would help me. But as we were talking about it, her body language was just kind of telling me, I don't think I want to do that. And so as I coached her through it, I found out that the reason she wanted to get her PhD was her thought was others would expect her to have a PhD. She didn't want to do
Ah,
the work. She didn't want to do that, but she was considering going back to school for years and six figures to please other people.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so those decisions are so crucial because you can cut your budget all day long. And when you make decisions that others see as wise but aren't wise for you, you're basically undoing all your financial progress and you never see it because if you're looking at the budget would just have the tuition payment in there and you've decided to do it and you think everything's okay. And so that's why my approach is so much more holistic than just the budget because those decisions are where the savings are. And that's really the secret to seeing the results faster than what you think, or having people look at you like they do me and my spouse and say, I know that combined we make way more than you two do. And yet you two have so much more success than we do. Like, yeah,
yeah,
I know we
yeah,
do.
definitely. I like what you said though, is you have to set it up for you. You can't use somebody else's budget or mindset for you because that's theirs, not yours. You have to work with what you're working with. Are you going to be really unhappy with it?
Well, of course. And if you're unhappy with the plan, why on earth are you going to follow it?
Yeah,
You're not, and you're still unhappy. So you're unhappy
yeah,
following someone else's plan, and you're unhappy not having your plan. And the thing I had to learn was I am with this every minute of every day until I
oh
die.
yeah, yeah,
And if I can't live with what's going on in here, I am in for a long, miserable life.
yeah.
And so there's lots of things going on here that we need to work on, including some of these thoughts like getting a PhD to please other people that are just kind of running in the back of your brain. It's almost like a computer virus, but you don't realize that you have it. It just kind of slows things down a little bit, but it
Right.
doesn't slow it down enough for you to recognize it.
Yeah. And you may not be able to recognize it because it's not something that you can recognize. And that's where you have a coach like yourself to help you see those things. Um, yeah, so that's something that goes with all entrepreneurs is having that behind there is you have to do the job that you want to do that's right for you. Um, and even when you're doing your work, maybe you want to venture off, do something else or try something else, but you've got to make sure that it's the right fit for you and what you're doing. And that doesn't mean you can't just step out and try something. You can do that. See if you do like it or don't like it. It's like, oh, that was a good idea, but not for me, or at least not at this time. You have to do things at different times that are right because we all have different times and seasons for doing something.
Of course, yeah. And when you're dealing with the finances, the thing that people think is, well, I can just wait and do it later. I can just wait till there's time. And there's not really a good time to ever become an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
There's not
Yeah.
really a good time to ever look at your money. There's not really a good time to have kids. They're just
Yeah.
things that we decide to do because we know they're important. And
Yeah.
so sometimes we tend to blame time for not getting what we want when really we all have the same 24 hours in the day, just like Taylor Swift. she doesn't get any more time than the rest of us. She's just, seen as more productive, just as an example.
Right,
And
right.
we all have those same choices for us to make with our time and where we want to spend it and what we want to spend it working on to get the results that we want, so that when we're looking back on our life, we can be like, wow, I got the most that I could have out of this opportunity, instead of having it filled with regret.
Oh, that's really important. Yes. When's the best time to plant a tree? 20 or 50 years ago,
Mhm.
but you only have today. So you take care of today, what you need to take care of today, and take that action. Um,
All right.
so what are some of the challenges you had going through this business, setting it up? You had this idea, and has it always been wonderful the whole time? Boy,
No.
that was a question, wasn't it?
No, no. One of the challenging things I had as a business is I got 50 no's in a row on my coaching offer, which really caused me to question my identity and self-worth. And I have a whole podcast I've done on that.
Oh,
Another
nice.
challenge I have in my business, especially with dealing with couples, is sometimes I have a spouse that just really does not want to talk about money at all. They don't want to ever come in the room or have a call. And so I work through, how do I have that person be comfortable? And are they not wanting to talk about money because every time they try, their spouse gives them 3 words and they interrupt? Is it they went through some type of financial trauma? Is it just gives them so much anxiety and uncomfortableness that they just don't even think they can handle it? I mean, it can be a variety of things. And so it's now, how can I make that person be comfortable? And I don't want any couple to ever feel like they're coming to a call where somebody feels like it's two on one with me taking the side of a spouse.
Right,
Like, I'm
right.
always neutral. Like, I am here to serve the both of you and to see the blind spots. I'm not here to say this one's doing it right and this one's doing it wrong, because both have value to bring to the relationship when it comes to money. And when one may be trying to control it all, or they do things that they think is wise, but their spouse sees it as controlling, we've got some things there to work through. And it's not that there's ever a lot, at least with the couples I work with, it's not like there's ill intent, like they're not trying to
Mhm.
maliciously hurt their spouse. They're just not aware of, like, oh, my actions are making them feel that way. And
Yeah,
that, and that too is like, all that comes before trying to do a perfect budget, because sometimes, one of the spouses will do a budget, they'll show it to their partner one time all month and then get mad at them for not following it. When it's like, you look at this 5 times a day, your spouse has seen it once in a month and didn't get a vote on it. Like,
yeah,
we've got some things that we just got to clean up there and tighten up. And when you hear the stories of childhood, when you hear the stories of past relationships, when you hear about their experiences with money, what both people are doing actually makes a whole lot of sense. And it doesn't get along very well.
yeah, yeah. So what do you do on something like that when things aren't working out, when they've got two totally different ideas of how to handle it, and they both think they're, for lack of a better word, they both think they're right.
Yeah. So what I do is I assess, like, how ready are they to come together? Because typically one spouse is more ready to go than the other one. And if the other spouse is getting there, then I'll make an offer to work with me. Sometimes I just have to say, now's not the right time to work with me, because they're just too far apart for me to be successful. And I value marriage, especially for my married couple, so much that the last thing I want to do is put a nail in the coffin that's going to head them to
Right.
divorce, because it's just so different. Now, I will leave them with, things to try to get closer onto the same page. I have a ton of free resources that help with that. And I also over the years know, where do my couples need to be at in the journey to really come in and get the most results with me. So a lot of
Mm,
times, if they both want the same thing and they have different levels of intensity to get there, those couples come into my program and thrive, because they both know where they want to go and where they're going. They're disagreeing on speed. And the funny
yeah.
thing is, when they come in and work together with me, sometimes we get it done faster than either one of them thinks, which is wild, because that's just not something. It's not like, oh, I listen to my spouse and I get what I want faster. Like, just not things that normally go together.
Yeah.
And same thing, like, if they're new to money conversations, they come in and do well with me, because it's not that either one of them has not wanted to do the work, they just haven't been sure how to do the work. And
Right.
so once they're shown what to do, then they go really quickly, because now they know, oh, this is what we were missing, and go for it. So I definitely
That's
have a
good.
process to assess if they're there. And if they're not a great fit, I'm going to tell them. Like, I want people to come work with me that are passionate, that they're going to get the results, and that they are going to love who they are on the other side. And I am also will just be the person. I want somebody to tell me if I wasn't ready for their program. So I can't imagine like not doing that for anyone else.
Right, right. That's a really good tool. I like that you do that. So you said you had a couple of children. How do you manage family and your work and all the meetings and everything you have going on?
I will say that has gotten much easier since I left my day job. When I was doing my day job and coaching and all this, it was hard.
Now imagine.
I left the day job in April 2022, and so now I do a lot of my admin work during the day, and I coach a couple days during the week, and then I have 2 nights a week that I coach where, if my kid
Okay,
has a concert, obviously I take that night off coaching, but my family knows like, hey, Mondays and Thursdays are the nights I coach unless, I'm not going to coach Thanksgiving night as an example, but
right.
that's always my coaching night. So if there's something you need me on a Monday or Thursday, I just need enough notice to not book the night and not tell me the night before so
You're
that we
right.
can keep things going. And then I just have my days planned out where, this is the time I work on content, this is the time on prospecting, this is the time networking calls, whatever I need to do, I have it all mapped out.
Okay, well, that's cool. So when you talk to your clients, do you have them close together or do you space them out during the day? So you get a break in between it, or how do you handle that?
When I'm coaching at night, I fill my night as much as I can because if I don't have anybody book on a Thursday night or my clients have all been in for the month, I take the Thursday night off. So when it comes to my
Nice.
evenings, if I have a call booked, I want to fill that evening with maybe like a 15-minute break to run to the restroom or whatever.
Right.
During the day, I will also fill my calendar because one of the things I've learned, at least for me with my calendar, is nothing ever goes to plan. So even if my calendar looks like it's filled from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. and I'm like, oh shoot, I forgot to give myself a lunch.
Yeah,
It's
I did
inevitable
that
that
today.
yeah, yeah, it's inevitable that somebody's not going to show up. Somebody's going to be
Yeah,
okay with you ending the call 5 minutes early so you can run to the restroom and grab a drink of water. Someone's going to have a last minute change. And you know what? I've just kind of just been like, you know what? The day is going to work out how it works out, and I'm going to get what I need. And
that's a
we're
good
just going to just
attitude.
relax and see how it goes.
Yeah, yeah. And someone said something, time is not about managing it, it's about making it, well, kind of making it work for you. So it's not, I have to constantly be telling it what to do and how to do this, but it's a forward thinking way of, I think I just got the book with my grandson. I just remember that's where it came from. I was trying to think earlier where that came from. So I'll go in my flip. Okay, this is not working. There we go. Go on my Kindle here. Oh, the 168 game. And it talks about taking care of your time and really taking care of it, not just managing it by, oh, this goes here and that goes there, but making it really work well. Um, and I'll let you all know how it turns out. Finish reading it. We just started it. Um, but but yeah, I mean it's one, you have to schedule in time for yourself. Like you said, you've got to give, that 5 minute break, 10 minute break in between, or, to get the water, to fill up your coffee cup, whatever it is you need to do, use the restroom, go stretch the legs because we sit almost all day long
Mhm.
and we have to get up and move. And it's important to do that. We've got to take care of our bodies or they're going to show us later that, hey, you didn't take care of me then, but you are going to take care of me now. And
Mhm.
we want to be the ones to be in charge of our bodies, not the body telling us what's to do. Um, yeah, and doing that lunchtime, do I schedule in lunch? Yes, I do have lunch scheduled, but something overflowed and
Mhm.
and it doesn't happen all the time, but sometimes that does happen. So we have to give ourselves grace on that too.
Absolutely. And I try to have a range of time where, like, if I see my time getting full and I feel like I'm not going to have a lunch, I block that as my lunch. So I try to
Oh,
leave
good.
it as open as I can. But if there's times I know I need to block a lunch, I do that. And for me on Wednesdays, I know my lunch is going to be later on average than normal,
Huh?
but I also know that morning's my admin time. So I know about 10:30, 11, I need to grab a snack because I may not
There
get
you
lunch till
go.
1:30 that day. So
Yeah,
I do
yeah.
need to do something to time me over.
And healthy snacks, not snacks
Mhm.
that are gonna make us tired and sleepy, in a couple of hours, but yeah, definitely
Correct.
healthy snacks. Healthy for our bodies, you talked about the gallbladder and having that out, and yeah, my whole diet changed because it says you no longer can have greasy foods for a while, and you can't have this and you can't have that, and it's like, fine, tell me what I can have, but you figure that out. So yeah, you have to go with what your body says to do. Um, so you do schedule in your breaks, that's really good. You schedule in a lunchtime when you can, and you schedule time for your family away from work. I really like that. What are some other things you do with your schedule?
Yeah, so I will schedule in time with friends if I feel like things are coming up and getting overwhelmed or I have a project that I need to work on. I'll even look ahead a couple of weeks and be like, "Oh, I don't have anything booked on this Thursday between these times. I'm going to block that out to help with it because I do my best to work my business between Monday and Thursday and try really hard to take off a lot of Fridays, Saturdays, Sundays. The Fridays sometimes end up being closer to every other, but the goal is to long-term goal is to get to where that Friday is off every week. And
Yeah,
so that's how I will navigate the time. But typically, once I have one thing on a Friday, I might open it up if I know like someone needs a quick
yeah.
call or I know I've got some objectives. I'm like, I'm already doing one thing. I might as well be doing five. Like,
But we got to be careful of that because I know what you're saying there. It's like, well, I'm doing one thing, but weekends are still weekends, and sometimes you got to get things prepared for the weekend. So don't shortchange ourselves too. See, do you take vacations? How do you handle vacations with your home business? Does it go
yeah,
with you?
yeah, well, I open my calendar 60 days out. So if I know my vacation's coming, it's normally more than 60 days. So I go in and block it on all my calendars so that the days don't open for
Okay,
booking. And as a one-person show, I do try to plan everything ahead that I can, but I also know I'm going to need to take 30 to 45 minutes to be like, did I get a voicemail? Do I have a lead to follow up with? But I'll
right.
plan out like my social media, I'll plan out my newsletter. I obviously won't book events like this during those times, but there's, always things to check in. And it's inevitable when you go on vacation and you're a solopreneur, that's when everyone reaches out to you, even if you don't
Yes.
announce it. It's wild.
That is true. I was looking at these, we've got Halloween coming up, we've got Thanksgiving coming up, we've got Christmas coming up, and all of our family is across the US. So for us to go to visit any of them, we have to really plan it out and see what days we have available. And I was looking at my calendar, it's like, why am I getting bookings right around this time? And it's like, oh no, I forgot to block it off, but I was able to
Mhm.
still block off the time that I needed, that hadn't gone around it. But yeah, it's like all of a sudden everybody wanted that week, and it's like, oh no.
Amen. Yep.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's great. So, so what about if you get sick? Do you keep working through the sickness? I mean, sometimes we can get pretty sick and we need to take care of ourselves, or do you reschedule?
It depends on what I'm sick with. And with my
Okay.
clients, I have some of them that are still on a agreement where we meet twice a month, once for an hour, once for 15 minutes. And my philosophy is kind of I can push through anything for 15 minutes.
Yes.
And so I try to do that. And same with, my hour calls. If they're like all back to back to back, then I might move one, or depending on what it is, I may cancel. But a lot of times I try really hard not to cancel because I just want to be there for my clients. Now, a networking call that I will move, but I really
Right.
try hard not to move like my client calls and commitments on short notice unless I absolutely have to.
Right. Right. No, that's really good. That's really good. Um, yeah. And do you have your holidays booked into your calendar? I mean,
Yes.
some people just work right through the holidays, and it's no
Uh,
big deal because we're all
I
entrepreneurs.
tend to take off the week of US Thanksgiving and the week of Christmas to kind of do the
Yeah.
deep thinking work and to just have available for the holiday stuff. So like the week of Christmas, I like to take that week to do my 2025 planning.
Oh,
And
good.
I mean, let's be real, people really don't want to talk about their finances the week of Christmas.
No,
Like they're just
no.
like they're not ready to
It's
think
like,
about that
please.
yet.
My kids really want these toys.
And so the week after going into the New Year's when everybody's thinking about it. So that's why I try to take the week of Christmas off and then open my calendar for the week after. The week between Christmas and New Year's tends to be a really busy week. But with you as Thanksgiving, I usually will take off the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I mean, I still have a couple things I'll
Okay.
do on the Wednesday if they're scheduled, but otherwise I try not to take client appointments that week just with trying to get stuff ready for the holidays. I know I've got my kids on a different schedule, so
Yeah, and like Labor Day, Memorial Weekend,
yeah.
Veterans Day, Flag Day, all of those that, banks and other stores are closed. Do you still work through those or how do you handle them?
It depends on the holiday. So like
Okay.
Labor Day, Memorial Day, I take off. Flag Day, Veteran Day. That to me, I'm like not a big, not a big deal
Okay.
for me to work those. I tend to be like, if my kids are off school, I'll take them off.
Yeah,
Otherwise, otherwise we just work right through it.
yeah. That's a really good thing. That's a great way to handle your family. Working with your business is when the kids are home, you're with them, not working. Um, yeah. So now what about, we're talking about finances here. As entrepreneurs, sometimes it's really hard to get started. Every course you take, every webinar, seminar, I don't know, summit, all the things that you're doing to learning your coaches and all of this, it all takes finances. How do you handle all of the finances with your business and make them, do you have like something that you have already set in place, or how do you figure out how much you're going to have each time?
Yeah, great question. So like if I get a painful client, I do plan out like, okay, how much of this needs to go to expenses and how much of this do I take home? And then also, what are there any annual expenses that are sneaking up on me that I need to be aware of and really look to plan out that way. In terms of, putting it in a document, I have something I know I need to strengthen it. So that's on my list for projects to do here between now and the end of the year. And
Yeah,
a lot of it is you just got to start with what you have and just know that you're going to adjust. Like a lot of people I talk to, they're just scared to start because they're going to get it wrong. And
right.
you can have the best coaches, the best planning, the best everything in the world, and you're still going to get stuff wrong.
Yeah.
Like there's no magic way to say we're going to do this and get it perfect. I mean, there's stuff I've put out on social media, like posting, thinking it was really good 2 years ago, and now it comes up on my memories, and I'm like, I can't believe I posted that. Like, I'm amazed these people stayed in my audience with me posting that. So
That's
and I
funny.
know like 2 years from today, I'm going to say that about the stuff I'm posting now.
Right,
And,
right.
you look at how my clients have elevated, how everything just continues to elevate. And as you look back on the journey, you're going to be like, oh, I could have been like this good, but I didn't know it at the time because what I had I thought was good, because everyone's excited to get their first client and their
Oh
first
yeah.
payment and their first profit and all these things. And then as you go, you're like, oh, the more money I bring in, I actually create some more challenges in my business.
You
And
do.
those can
That's
catch you off
true.
guard too. So you feel like things are working, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, wait a second. That was working until that was working when I had one or two clients, but now that I have 10, that really is
You
not
have
very
to,
efficient.
yeah, you need to change it up. Yeah, I was talking with uh another gentleman on one of the other podcasts and talking about doing the different leveling up, climbing a ladder or climbing on a mountainside, anything can happen. You might step on some branches that all of a sudden it's slippery and you're falling back down. That's okay because you have people around you to help you get back up. And so it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to say, well, this didn't work or this was working, but now it's not working. I was able to walk across the creek, but now I've got to climb this really steep hill. Or maybe you're at the river. It's like, well, how do I navigate this? I use a lot of imagery now. um, because that's how my brain thinks.
No, that's all
But
right. The imagery is
yeah,
beautiful.
yeah, it is. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, so it's okay. It's okay. You have to keep readjusting and rethinking, and it doesn't mean you're quitting. It doesn't mean that you're going after something you shouldn't. You're actually taking your little pause to make sure that what you're doing is working and that you're still going to keep moving forward with it. And that's really good. Um, so What would be one of the main things you would want an entrepreneur to know from the journey that you've had?
Don't be scared to start, and don't be scared to make bold decisions that people are like, "You would actually do that?" Yes, I would actually do that. I can't tell you the number of times I've made a decision that maybe hasn't looked the greatest on paper, but my bones knew it was the right thing to do, and I went with my inner knowing, and it
Yeah,
was totally the right decision.
nice.
And it's kind of like my financial plan. There's sometimes you write stuff on paper and it looks great, and then you get that unexpected expense or something else, and it's like, this plan looks really good on paper, but the reality of it kind of sucks.
Yeah,
And
yeah, it's
so
not working so well.
yeah, and so there's got to be a way to balance both because both are needed. And so with the entrepreneurial journey, the first thing is if you get the nudge to start, just start. Like there's a
Yes.
reason you got that nudge, listen to it, do it, and see what you learn because whatever you learn is going to be so beneficial to you. And don't deny
Yes.
yourself the opportunity to grow in that way. I mean, entrepreneurship is like the ultimate form of personal development.
It is. It is. You've got to. Um,
Mhm.
and it's good. I mean, you're going to meet so many wonderful people that are going to be there to help you along, to share their knowledge with. You're going to meet people that all of a sudden you're going to realize, wow, I've got it all in a lot of knowledge already. So I'm going to share it with these other people that are looking for it. And it's great to do that. And most entrepreneurs are out there. I mean, I really haven't found any that aren't out there to help anybody else. Um, we're all in this together, doing our own thing, but we're still there to support each other. And you need to find people who will do that for you, that will support you. So as you're going through business, do your kids ever say you spend way too much time on your work, or you're telling them things to do from what you've learned and they're like, oh, mom, quit telling us what to do. We're not your clients.
Not really, but my kids are 15 and 10, so they're not really at
Yeah.
the stage where they need mom a lot anymore. I mean, they're more of like where they want to stay up late. I'm trying to go to bed and it's like 10 o'clock at night and they're like ready to start a long conversation with me. And
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
like exhausted. And I'm like, okay, I need to stay up and do
That
this
is,
because I know
that's
I don't
tough.
have too many years left with them.
Yeah, yeah, it does. It goes by way too fast, way too
Mhm.
fast. And so do you and your husband, I know it's kind of asking personal, but do you and your
Mhm.
husband take date nights? You block out time together?
Yeah, we block out time together because for 12 years we worked opposite schedules and that was not
Oh,
very
wow.
conducive to us. And so we both have changed jobs in the last 2.5 years. We did
Oh, my.
kind of did it all at once, which was a little stressful. And now he's home early enough. Like my whole family will be home by 3:30 every day. So we tend to
Oh, nice.
do some things quick in the afternoon. So that way, if I need to pop on in the evening and work, it's not the end of the world because, kids are home, homework's done,
Yeah.
instruments are practiced, dinner's, started or done, and then I can go in and work a little bit. And so it all works out.
That's cool. So do you have a room that's just for your office, or do you have to share it with something, or what do you do on that? I know a lot of people, it's their kitchen table, so if kids are home and they're running around and getting food or whatever, it's like, okay, everybody go to your room. This is my time on the meeting.
Yeah, my office is actually in my bedroom because when I
Okay.
started, I was on tray tables. That was not very
Oh, yeah.
conducive. And I floated to whatever room in the house was open. That sucked, don't recommend. And
No,
so, while we have a desk in the living room, we ran into that problem of it just was not going to be conducive for the conversation I need to have. And my
right.
bedroom has a door on it. So we just got a small writing desk that we have crammed in our bedroom with our king size bed, all
Yeah.
like I scoot back here, I just hit it. So like so I thank God that Zoom has virtual backgrounds that can make it look
Yes.
like my room is nice and tidy. Just real life of an entrepreneur here. And
Yeah.
I know I'm not the only one doing it. So
No, 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 that's true. I had, when I first started out, we had a fifth wheel trailer we were in because we were gonna get our house built, and then things came up that didn't do that. My husband got hurt, and then we moved. But it was, yeah, I'm in this little tiny area trying to do my business. Finally, we ended up getting a storage shed from the neighbor, and setting that out there, but then there was no heat out there in the winter. There was no air conditioning in the summer. So, you have to take those things into the account. Then you have mice that decided they were going to run around in there. And it was outside. It wasn't this nice building. It was just an empty building that had been used. So there were holes in places. So you're working on all of that while you're doing it, because you don't want mice eating the wires of your laptop and stuff like that. So yeah, now I have a room. The kids are gone. We've got our own house, and I have one room set up that it is a guest room. So I have to talk with the grandkids when they come and stay that these are the times I need the room. So I'm gonna come in and you're gonna get woke up. But they all know that ahead of time, and it's minimal time that I have to interrupt their day, or they're ready to go, and plenty of stuff to do out on a ranch, so they're not too worried about it if I'm in here. But yeah, it's you do what you have to do to get it done. And that's a great idea. Have a little corner in your room that's just for meetings and things like that. You have a door, like you said, so there's no distractions, and that's a really good thing. What is one of the toughest things you've had in your family life with being an entrepreneur that you've learned to overcome?
Well, shortly after I started my business, I started my business in January 2021. Unknown to me, my mom would get very sick February 2021 and pass away March
Oh,
2021. So I'm not even out of the gate yet. And obviously, a death in the family does a lot of obstacles with prospecting, because people are like, start by talking to who you know. And I'm like, it just really feels off talking to all these people after my mom died. Like, that just feels like, doesn't feel right to me. And
yeah,
so it really, I don't want to say set me back, because I will never regret the time that I chose to be with my mom instead of working on my business, because I can never get that back.
right.
And did I accomplish everything I wanted to in my first year of business as a result? Absolutely not.
But that
And
could
that's
be
okay.
for any number of reasons. But yeah, yeah. So you just kind of plug through it, I guess. You just plug through it. Does anybody say that anymore? You just keep going forward. You find a way to go forward. You find a way to take the time. Um, yeah. So where do you find most of your customers?
I find them on social media, Alignable. I'm a Ramsey preferred coach, so I get leads from Ramsey, networking
Okay.
partners, people I know. I have some freebies that bring in leads that turn into clients. So I have a lot of
Oh,
different sources
nice.
going.
Oh, that's really good. That's good to know. Yeah, because a lot of people are trying to figure out, well, where do I go find my ideal client? Once they figure out who that is, then it's like, where do I go find them, and how do I entice them to to come? Um, so a lot of people don't think they want financial planning because, one, maybe they're embarrassed and they don't want anybody to know, or two, they don't want anybody to know what their finances are, or any number of reasons. um, what are some ways that you help people get over the, I don't know, fears is the right way, but maybe mindset that I can do it, I don't need anybody else to tell me how to do my finances?
Great question. I use a lot of my social media posts for that, to be like,
Oh,
you guys, like, you two are the power couple and you look like you have everything together, but yet as soon as you open the door and go home, you're dreading that money conversation.
yeah,
And
yeah,
so I
that's
really
a really
focus
good
on,
one.
yeah, so I really focus on like what my people are experiencing. And because in my experience, it's not about the dollar amount or the income. It's about what people are experiencing and what people are feeling. And to avoid
Right,
some of the feelings, they may decide, I need to work 3 jobs. And it's not that that's not bringing in more money. Of course it is. And if they're spending because of the stress, then we're just in the cycle that we can't out earn what we do.
right,
And there's a lot of
right.
people who work in finance and are not that great with money. And
Hmm,
so we have a lot of factors that bring a lot of fear, shame, guilt, experiences that people have been through that are not their fault, that have left them with like, if I say this about somebody, I don't know if anyone's going to be in my life anymore. And so
Oh,
there's these
wow.
really deep-seated fears that come with money. And so one of the nice things about me is I'm virtual. I'm in Dubuque, Iowa, and I have clients all over the country. And
Okay.
so a lot of my clients have appreciated that I'm, a few states away from them because they're like, we don't want you to show up while we're shopping at Target to look in our cart. And I'm like, it's fine. And then you're working with me and you're doing the plan. It's fine. Like, I don't like, I'm not, I did have that happen with a local client and they saw me, it was a look horror. And I'm like, I'm not going to sit here and judge what's in your cart and go through your budget. Like, I trust that you've got all that planned. And I don't need to do that. Like, that's me
Yeah.
being your mom and not your coach. And
Yeah.
so it's really developing that know, like, and trust of feeling comfortable to come to me, really just saying like, hey, I understand that there's probably something that you've gone through with your finances that you've probably never talked about, and it's impacting the life that you want to live today. And you're really unsure about what to do to try to overcome it because all the Google articles you've read and all the YouTube videos you've watched and all the podcasts you've listened to aren't helping. And you don't want
Yeah.
to ask anybody their opinion because that requires you to actually share it.
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Yeah, thank you so much for being on my show today. Wow, this was just a wealth of information to put a play on words, but it really was great. It's learning how to navigate the entrepreneurship, but also how to, knowing where to go to handle the finances and that there is somebody who can help you. Not so much telling you how to spend it, but seeing how you think about money and how to guide you to be a good steward of it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if any of your listeners are looking for more information or they want to check out those social media posts, I am on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads under Finance Coach AC as the handle. I can also be found on LinkedIn, and my book, The Change: Insights into Self-Empowerment, Volume 22, should be coming out in November, where I
Awesome.
share a little bit more of my story along with 19 other co-authors.
Yeah, isn't that a wonderful book? I'm in volume 21, and it's just
Yeah.
wonderful. Well, thank you again for being here, and thank you our audience for paying attention and getting tips and tools to help you on your journey. And we'll see you next time on Wisdom on the Front Porch.
Thank you for joining us today on Wisdom on the Front Porch with your host, Ellis Kirkpatrick. You can find us on our website, wisdomonthefrontporch.com, see previous episodes of the podcast, and view issues of the magazine. Did you know you can submit questions, leave reviews, or suggest topics? You can also tell us where your favorite front porch location is and what it means to you. We hope you gain value and insight from today's or previous talks. We appreciate your support for us so we can continue to provide value and expertise to you and others. Subscribe to Wisdom on the Front Porch magazine and join in next week when we bring you another great insight into the world of entrepreneur culture and lifestyle. Make today a great day. Always believe that something wonderful is going to happen.